Hey everybody, I'm Chris Metzler, one of the programmers with SF Indie Fest, and you've just had a chance to see the really wonderful film, The Paper Bag Plan, and we're lucky enough to have director Anthony Lucero here. Welcome, Anthony.
Hi, thanks, Chris. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, and welcome back to SF Indie Fest too. For those that come to the festival over the years, Anthony had really terrific film East Side Sushi here just a little bit before the pandemic. So the world keeps on going, and people keep on making good films.
Yeah, we it's been a while since East Side Sushi. We did walk away with an award at SF Indie, we were very proud of back when we played it. But yeah, pandemic and having a kid, I just got derailed for a little bit, but back with another feature. So we're happy to be here.
Well, it's exciting. I think people often wonder, like, how do folks choose the films they decide to make? So, what was the kind of the origin story for this film?
The origin, so my brother was severely mentally physically disabled, Eddie, and passed away in 2009.
Hmm.
So my mom was a single mother, and she would bathe him and feed him and just dote after him and talk to him. They watched movies together, and they were symbiotic, these two. So it was sort of the seed, I guess, of the film came from there. And yeah, my brother passed away back, yeah, I think 2009. So the story always stuck with me of caretaker, a caretaker story. Back in 2018, my sister Margie, she died of cancer, and she left behind her daughter Sarah. Sarah has Angelman syndrome,
Hmm.
and it can be best described. Sarah's 38 now, and she has a mental capacity of a 1-year-old. So she's very challenging to take care of. But so the story, although it's a father, the story is, and it is a fictional story, but it does have some reality. It's grounded in reality from these two amazing women, my sister and my mom, that were just fantastic caretakers. But that was sort of the start of it.
Hmm. Well, it's a beautiful tribute in a way, the kind of different ways that the things that we go through in life, how they kind of inspire the kind of art that we create. So, as you went about kind of, cultivating this, story, what were the kind of some of the things that were the most challenging, you think? Um,
Challenging, it's always money, right? With all these films, it's trying to find the money to make the film. So, and that was it. If the more money we had, the more problems we could squash. So it's self-funded. We started to shoot for 2 weeks and then kind of ran out of money. And I told my wife, Kay Alohi, I told her, I can't afford to keep making this, and we should probably stop. And at that point, but we had so much great material, 2 weeks worth of shooting in our rental in Burbank. And so she said, I'll pay for it. Let's, because she knew we had such great stuff. And she said, I'm just going to pay for the rest. So she, took out her checkbook, and she's like, let's finish the rest of the film. But we finished it over the course of about 7 months. We would shoot for 5 days here, wrap, and try to find a grocery store to film in. Okay, we finally found one that'll let us film. And so we filmed there for 5 nights. And then, okay, we need to shoot at the baseball game for a day. So it was it's not a great way to make a film, because typically you want to just get it all done in a month or 2 months. And this was strung, over the course of 7, 8 months of filming. It was very difficult to get characters back into, or to get the actors back into character, the clothing, the wardrobe, just everything that it's very difficult. So it was not a fun film to make
hmm.
whatsoever. It was very complicated and stressful, but we got through it.
And do you think did that production process do you think it changed the film creatively in the sense of like did that time benefit you at all? I guess in the sense of like you had a chance to kind of sit on things a little bit, or am I just kind of looking for an ideal in a difficult situation?
Yeah, it's more ideal, because you think, well, maybe you'll have time to sit with the footage and edit and look at it and decide. But I didn't. I have this thing of, I can't look at the footage until it's all done, and then I put it all
Mm.
together. So I couldn't even sit with the footage for a while. And no, it would have been much better to film it all at one time. You lose momentum Mostly it's like the actors, they just lose momentum. And it is my job to get the actors back into that um the tone of where the last scene that we left off, and try to get them back into the same tone for the next scene. So it's complicated. It's not fun. So yeah, I don't think there's anything good about taking that much time to shoot a film.
And where do you think this kind of falls in line with the sorts of subjects that you've kind of been drawn to with, other films? And like, do you, I mean, what are the sorts of films that you kind of, aspire to kind of continue to make? I mean, it always seems like there's always kind of like an underlying personal story between the characters and things. But yeah, what is it that kind of draws you to the films you decide that to get you over the hump and just say, I got to make this movie?
Yeah, that's important too. Knowing, I think saying to yourself as a filmmaker, I got to make this movie, that's the first step. And I tell writers that too. You write the film that you have to make. If you don't have to make this film, then it's probably not a film you should write. So but I'm always drawn to, we grew up working class, lower middle class, and I think just there's so many stories of people that live in our area that are so interesting, like East Side Sushi, about a woman who wants to become a sushi chef, and you would never think that turbulence would happen inside this little sushi chef in a little sushi restaurant in Oakland. And but I am drawn to films of people that want to break out of the box and aspire to do something bigger. But it's also financially, it's the films that I could afford to make. So I could afford to make East Side Sushi because it's a smaller film. We could afford to make The Paper Bag Plan because there's a lot of big sets or explosions. But I also want to make, I got into this industry because of Star Wars and films, of the 80s, Back to the Future, and those are the films that I grew up on, Spielberg and Lucas and John Landis, those films. And I always aspired to work in on those types of films. And I worked at Industrial Light and Magic, and visual effects is what I worked in for many years. So yes, there's that part of me that still wants to make these bigger films, visual effects films, but can't afford to make it. They're those are expensive films, but I do aspire to do more and to do bigger films for sure.
Well, definitely admire what you're making so far. And kind of excited to see about what you get to have next up your sleeve. What was the casting process like? In the sense of, um, how did you decide to um, kind of find the troupe that you kind of worked with, and also, especially when you're kind of dealing with, um, actors that are, um,
With a
dealing with
disability, or
kind of
yeah.
disabilities and things. Yeah, like how like what's the nuance there in the sense of like finding somebody that's right for the role, and captures the way that you've written it.
It was complicated because when I wrote the script, everything revolved around the character of Billy. So how would I find this character Billy? And he had to be an actor with a disability. I wasn't going to hire an actor that doesn't use a wheelchair and put him in a wheelchair. It's not. Again, it's with my past film. I'm always going for authenticity. Authenticity is key. And so the first thing I did is hired Russell Bose, the casting director. He was the first person I hired. And I said, if you could find my Billy, then we'll move to the next stage of this film. So we did not a casting call, but we reached out to a lot of actors with disabilities, probably, I would say 60 or so. We had these reels from these actors, various different types of disabilities. And couldn't quite find the right one. And it was the last one. It was Cole Massey. I got his headshot and a little link to his reel, and immediately, before I even met Cole, I knew he was the one. So, but we auditioned him, and he read lines, and he's just a beautiful soul. I just love Cole Massey so much. He's so great. So yeah, everything stemmed from him. And once we found Billy, then we would know what would be we'd be able to cast the parents or the parent around Billy. So then Lance Kinsey, who plays the father, he was in a short film that I did, and he's only done comedy. He's only done comedy, and but he was so good in this short film that I did with him that me and my wife, we knew, we just kind of knew he could do drama. And it was kind of a big swing because we've never done it before, but we took a chance on it. And I sent it to Lance, and I just asked him, do you think you'd want to play the father in this film? And oh, by the way, we have no money. And he read it that night, and immediately the next morning he said, I want to do this. I want to do this film. And he had a personal connection to it. His wife had passed away from cancer
Mhm.
3 years prior, and I didn't know that. So he had a personal connection with this subject matter. But he just knocked it out of the park. Just both of them, Cole and Lance, just together. And it's funny, on set, one of the crew members had asked if they were a real. They didn't even ask. They said, it's amazing that you found a father and son that could both act. We're like, no, they're not related. They're not real father and son.
Oh, the biggest
And
compliment.
it was the biggest compliment for sure. And but yeah, but that it was a very difficult and a very time consuming casting process, especially to find Billy is complicated.
And so I know one of the things that folks out there that are probably watching the Q&A is that there's like I really like this film. They want to kind of probably continue to follow your career and see what you're up to next. Is there a good way for folks that kind of fall in love with this work that can follow you as independent filmmaker and be kind of excited and kind of sign up for what you have up next?
For sure. I just made my Instagram public. It's always been private up until recently because I had so many people that wanted to connect, and they're bugged that my account was private. But it's Ant Lucero one, ANT Lucero one is my Instagram. We do have a paper bag plan, the paper bag plan Instagram and Facebook page too. So it would be great if people just liked it, and hopefully we'll get a distribution deal out of this. The more that people like it and share it, and that is like my last film. We didn't have marketing dollars, and the only way this film and these films, independent films, the way the word gets spread is through people, and that's it. And so hopefully people will share and send it and like it, I hope.
Well, very cool. And, I'll just kind of concur on that. We're so thankful that, filmmakers like Anthony share their films early in the process, with us. So we get a chance to share them at film festivals. And so we're kind of like you, the audience at home and then the theater, are kind of like the first kind of grassroots street team for these independent films. So if you like it, talk about it over drinks after, after the film, or post about it and let people know that you like it. These are the sorts of things that kind of allow filmmakers to succeed, and why we're so thankful that they're out there making these films and sharing them with us early.
Yeah, thank you for sure. Right, this is probably the only way to see these films is through film festivals and through your film festival. So and I hope people come out this Friday, or they've already seen the film, so hopefully they'll continue to watch it streaming.
Very cool. Well, thanks again for Anthony. I really appreciate it.
All right, thank you, Chris.
See ya.